One of the mysteries in the Bible is that Moses had seen so many of God's awesome miracles, and yet he said, "Show me your glory." You see, God's glory was not in the miracles or the plagues that he performed. It couldn't be because Moses said, "Show me your glory." So it has to be something else. And I believe the glory of God is that manifold presence, that radiant presence of God. That is the word awe comes to mind. Awesome, awesome presence. And Solomon saw this again. In fact, it got to the extreme that the priests and the other ministers could not even be in the temple because the glory of God was there. Oh, my friends, I hope and I pray that our church will be filled with God's presence in that way. Not that there's no room for anyone, but that everybody who enters the church will feel that sense of awe of God's presence, God's manifold presence with them. But sadly, we look at churches today and we see how empty they are. Yes, okay, perhaps they're doing the right things, but there's no thirst for God's presence, no longing for God's presence. Or perhaps there are churches that stray away from God's teachings and the presence of God isn't there. Oh, I pray that we go to churches where we know the presence of God in that awesome and powerful way. A teacher, a theologian, evangelist, you name him, once famously said, if God's presence was withdrawn from our church services, would we notice? That is such a challenge. Are we just going through the motions with perhaps the lighting or choosing the right songs or saying the right things, but God's presence isn't really there? But I pray that our churches will be so filled with God's presence, with God's glory. Oh, to know how awesome God is, that presence where we fall on our knees in worship of his greatness and of his splendor and of his majesty.